All right, let's go ahead and get started here. All right. Frozen Swamp are angry with us. Water Thieves are angry with us. So we get to defend. This shouldn't be all that hard. Though they have been getting more and more recently, so... there seems to be a lot now. We probably want a Gunrunner rig, actually, to get some Vepers up. Hey, Alex. That's right, we can't buy stuff from the vendor while this is happening. Oh well. We'll make do. Spectre? Don't have a lot of ammo for that. So if that's the case, probably just RPK? You can't buy parts when that's happening. Which 3-way do I have? Probably enough. And then bring all of the meds. Ooh, I did not bring a lot of meds in. Hey, 106, how's it going? Yeah, I actually don't have a lot of medkits here. My chronic use of medkits over and over again. That weapon does not have an actual drum mag on it, so let's not use that. There we go. Need to be a little careful here. We don't have a lot of meds at all. Alright, they're fighting the turrets over there. Keep popping meds while we're here. I think they'll keep coming to us. The perks of unsilenced guns. What do you mean, Blood Panda? This can still happen from doing the Water Thieves quest. Or having water bots. Alright, should be good, I think. Any Vepers around here? There's one. Yeah, all Vepers, nice. Where did Lordos go? The bum? I think we're time to go. They stole Lordos. Yeah, thieves.
Always a pleasure, folks.
Just some casual thieves. And they stole Lordos. Can't believe they would do that. Lose the innards? Don't be crazy. Alright, back to regular rig. Honestly, weirdly enough, the iron sights guns feel, I would say, almost better. So hold on, let's go do a scrapyard real quick. Maybe buy some more 7.62. All right. Let me go over to Heisenberg, buy some meds. I kind of get this feeling that the guns actually feel better when they don't have optics on them. The illusion of recoil does a lot better there. Mother Courage crawling through the tunnel would be terrifying. Yeah, I would say, like, I guess it's the iron sights that are rather the optics are the main issue, right? The guns do feel a lot just more grounded when you're actually just shooting them from with an iron sight. It still has the issue where it has that kind of weird cone, but like it feels a lot better shooting from the irons than from red dots. I should have probably brought in an RPK with the red dot too to like show the difference. Informatic. Wonder how so. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, oh, wait, hold on. Let me shoot the wall real quickly. Let's find a good wall to shoot. Let's try you. I mean, no, it's pretty zeroed in. I mean, like, I will say, like, if the base iron sights are 0 to 100 meters, yeah, it's shooting low. But in regards to, like, just generic FPS or, you know, shooter game, it works perfectly fine. Like, it's shooting where you think it would shoot. It's not doing, like, for a lot of guns that are 0 to 100 meters, right, you would be shooting a little bit higher than your iron sights, right? This close. Right, it depends on the gun and the bullet too. It does depend on the gun and the bullet. It depends on a lot, but like generally speaking. But like for just standard like FPS gun, like that's perfectly fine. Like if I shoot once and I look to where the bullet like, impacted at, that works for me. Now the bullet is kind of like landing at the base of the iron sights. I feel like is not the top, but it's almost like a close enough aspect, right? Now I wonder if this is still a thing though. Yeah, that honestly bugs me the most, to be honest. Like like whatever way you need to do, I feel like you need to make sure that this switch, like if you have to adjust your this or this, it needs to match up with one or the other, right? Y7, it should be on private. This is not a community stream right now. But no, yeah, I do believe that, like, or feel that, like, these need to be the same. I feel like. It is very dramatic, and then it, like, turns into a laser, right? It's what's so weird. Should be a much more gradual kind of push. And like, in a way, I prefer the new ADS. I preferred the old recoil. If they can combine the old recoil with the new ADS, it'd be pristine. I mean, so the CSGO recoil is a pattern-based... Front row. Run away. Out of bullets. CSGO's recoil is... You can do pattern-based recoil if you want. I'm not sure if this game would really need something like that, but like it might be... I don't know if a pattern-based recoil method is actually easier to implement than an actual more random amount. We're talking about just guns and recoil and how they feel, basically. Zombie, I kind of feel like it's gonna be Mars though first, right? Wouldn't it be Mars? It could be both. I kind of feel it's gonna be Mars though, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, if you change between these two modes, considering they're different points of impact. Like if you're holding mouse 1, right, like right here, and then you hit Alt, I imagine that like the way the bullet works in between those two, it either needs to stop or it does get lost. Pack mule.
Let's never do that again.
Maybe Zombie, I have no idea.
Till the next time.
But I do think Mars is gonna happen first. I think we're gonna have Mars and then we're gonna have Earth. It's like the eliminated feat's like still like only like 25% down too, right? It's like not even got a dent in it yet. Yeah, we're private. But no, yeah, the old recoil, and they could use patterns too. Patterns do reward like skill to some degree, but I'm not sure if like that's something you should be rewarding as opposed to just making it in the sense of, yeah, if you hold mouse 1, you're gonna get some variance. Oh, so if you're fighting cyborgs up close, what can happen is your gun can, because the projectile of the gun spawns at the end of the gun, and your gun can clip through enemies. There's instances where like cyborgs can be in front of you, your gun is clipping through them, and so the projectile you're shooting spawns on the other end of the cyborg, so it would never hit them. You can even see that on Scrapyard too, right? Like if you let like a melee cyborg get up to your face, your gun will really often be clipping through them with like a rifle with a silencer on it. It is wild. Most guns or most games will usually have like some conditions, and like it's such a niche condition too, but yeah. I feel like we're due for a new stratagem, Zombie. It definitely feels like Super Earth needs to have some special stuff to it. I think my biggest complaint so far about the whole currently thing is, which is pretty common, it seems like, 3 missions over and over again do kind of get tedious and old after a while. Just play around, Ivan. Just playing around. I imagine like there has to be some... I imagine how mundane right now the missions are for the outer planets is hopefully Earth will have some bespoke ones that might involve some CEAF. You're tired of finding their corpses everywhere?
I hate the surface.
Yeah, like the recoil when you have a red dot is like not nearly as noticeable in the sense of like the shakiness you get from using iron sights.
Everyone for themselves.
I hear mech. Is that Rat King? There's been a few memes on the Reddit, Zombie, where it's like the next warbond's going to be like literally like every single warbond recently has been getting like more and more barbaric and primitive. Like we're now currently using old guns like the amendment. So like we're kind of like going to like old stockpiles here and there. And it's just the next warbond's gonna be like sticks and stones. It's gonna be like civilian equipment. It's gonna be like a loader from like Aliens. It's gonna be like people in construction outfits. Hey, Rat King. Let's watch Blood's idol die. It might not though. There's not really any threats around, right? I didn't bring a grenade launcher. T90, turn around. You have a free target right over there. What are you guys aiming at? Oh, you're aiming at the Merkava. Understood. So this tank is tracking the Merkava through the wall, but can't shoot it? Hmm. I am kind of curious if we'll see like actual like emplacements on Super. Super has got guns, right? It's got to have like orbital cannons, right? If there was one planet you would put orbital cannons around, it feels like it'd be Super Earth. Are you just missing or incompetent? That damn Merkava. I think it's hitting the wall. Understood. We already have quite a few plasma guns, I think, though. Like, we have jetpacks, we have plasma guns. It'd be so impractical, but like, I don't know, maybe not. We don't have a plasma machine gun. I mean, they do have the artillery gun, right? Maybe we can see some mortars. Because that new, like, Crescent guy, right, will shoot basically a mortar at you. Having a mortar crew would be kind of dope. I don't think we have that yet, right? We have, like, the actual mortar turret, but I don't think we have an actual mortar. Just artillery strike the fuck out of the, out of the guys.
Hey, what was that?
I just freed you and you immediately arrested yourself again. Oh, I imagine there'll be stashes and shit too, right? They'll get like deformed and stuff. I imagine the amount of destruction on Super Earth will be amazing. Hopefully it's like all urban too, mostly, right? Hey, Jacob. I can't give you an update on that right now. Maybe this week, but I can't promise you anything really. Moving takes priority. And like, I think there's one current script I'm working on, but like, until we get new units or new reworks after that script, I don't really feel comfortable doing like any more, because like, there's a bunch of different things I could do, but they're so underbaked right now, it's really hard to give them a deep dive when like there's so much unfinished stuff. Like, for example, Toothy has unfinished textures on him, so like looking up close at Toothy just looks weird because you see like literally gray textures on him. In gray materials, it just looks wrong. Then you have the European soldiers just don't have enough depth to them yet, like the cyborgs do. Your Ruskins are similar too. I could do smaller ones, but there's not a lot of theory crafting to do. I think on a lot of those right now. But I do have one cooking that you guys probably might not think about. But after that, it might be a drought on, you know, at least lore village. Like, there's other lore villages I have around or thoughts of, but like deep dive wise, that's probably gonna be the last deep dive for a while, I imagine.
Right time to be on the surface.
So I'm the exact opposite. I think they could cut it, and I wouldn't lose a blink of sleep. They could remove all the attachments, and I wouldn't be sad at all. I'd probably actually be happy. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like what the scavengers are, right? Quite a few of them definitely seem like deserters. But like the problem I have right now with attachments, right, is that like for the amount of attachments we have and the amount of work they would require, they just don't really bring a lot to the table for me. Like if they're not doing something like drastically changing the function of the guns, it just feels like a why. Like there's the rule of cool, right? But like there's a certain like give and take. I mean, you can have plenty of variety though, still just from the different guns, right? Do you really think each gun having 100 different attachments really adds enough variety? Like, is choice for the sake of choice, despite those choices being meaningless, actually a choice? Like, sure, aesthetic considerations, right? But like, at a certain point, is the amount, is it all of that worth the effort? In my opinion, is no. Would I rather have more interesting, like, actual, like, loot items, or would I rather have more attachments? I think I'd rather have more interesting loot items. Do I even like, I haven't looted anything this frickin' map. Hey, Delta. This map's been so anemic recently. And like I'm not saying no to any attachments, but like I'd rather we have fewer but more interesting attachments as opposed to having a lot but they do very little. Like for example, on the more scopes front, right? Like if the scopes actually had a lot of differences between them, yeah, like that'd be dope, right? But if the only consideration is aesthetic and like a small decimal point change to a stat, I mean, in a perfect world, Soul, right? If we had infinite time and resources, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, have any, like all these attachments, right? But in a world of finite resources and time, I think efforts are better spent elsewhere. We're talking about fun. We're talking about forever winters. We can talk about both though. And like actually, forever. Like, so like, the Helldivers did it right though, right? I was talking about forever winters, but like Helldivers did it right, right? Helldivers cut that content from the launch because they couldn't get it to a point where it was actually good. And so like a year later, now we have it. They're like, we can't do this right now. Let's get the actual game out. Let's focus more on the content of the game or like the base gunplay. And then we can add stuff later. You can start small and then build up. As opposed to build wide and have to like constantly update everything constantly at the same time. Helldivers did, like Airhead did it right, in my opinion. Yeah, Helldivers does not have a lot, right? Yeah. Yeah, and like Helldivers had more money and they decided to go the smaller route first. Granted, I mean, I will say too, like, on a certain level, they are different games, and like the gunplay has to be good in Helldivers. It cannot, like, it's the core tenet of the game, right? Gunplay and explosions. Like, it has to be good. Well, this game, it just needs to be serviceable. Like, it would be nice if the gunplay was that level in this game, but like, it is second fiddle to everything else. Hey, Paste. Not much, just playing around. Just enjoying some ambiance. Some depression. So, John, in the recent patch, they added weapon customization. So, like, as you level up weapons now, it's like you basically say, like, for example, Liberator, right? Say for example, you play with the Liberator, you'll level the Liberator up, and you'll unlock attachments for that Liberator based on your level of Liberator, right? And like, it's not too complex. It's like 3 or 4 slots per gun and like 3 or 4 options per slot, and then there's skins too. So it's a very simple way of customizing guns, but it does actually add some extra text. I did not get into it. Considering I keep hearing stuff about Arc Raiders, I'm gonna probably look into getting into it the next test and playing it, but like, yeah. I have actually signed up for the beta too. I just haven't got into one yet. Alright, so I'm gonna show this off here. Let's go over the RPK. The RPK is like the worst case scenario, right? But like, it is a good example of this. Where like, this is the worst case scenario, right? We have 10 magazines, and this is probably not everything too, right? We have 8 grips. A few different stocks, and that opens up more opportunities here. We have different stocks too, and like, sure, the aesthetic differences, right, are nice, and like this isn't a big ask, right? These are just like, these don't do a whole lot in regards to making things differently, like, move differently, or like function differently. But once you start getting to the handguards and the attachments and the rails and all of that stuff, right, it starts getting a lot more actually difficult. Let me buy some hand attachments too, right? It gets only really kind of annoying when we start looking at the actual attachment points for hands and for just rigging, right? Yeah, but generally, that's the whole point, right? In the sense of, it's a baseline they can keep building up upon, right? They started small, like they started with nothing, then they added a little bit in, like right now, and then they can add more later, right? But it seems like we're doing all of it right now for this particular game, so it's just a lot at once. So let me go over to Aramaki and buy some actual hand grips. Foregrip. It's gonna be Gorilla only, probably. Let me fix my rep with them, I guess. I guess they don't like me right now. I'm sorry I killed all your soldiers. Please forgive me. There we go. Then we have, like, yeah, we have from A to Q number of foregrips too. And each one of these requires slightly different, you know, configurations for, like, having your hand set up right. And, like, don't forget, too, that these characters are not cookie cutters. Each character is different. So each character is going to require probably their own rigging to be up on the foregrips, right? So RPK, different hand guards. Are they in the same spot, too? I'm curious. So foregrip back here. If I go over to this tube... Okay, it's in the same spot. That's... Oh, it moves a little bit, though. Oh, no. It does shift ever so slightly when you when you change hand guards. But like, all of this just adds to like the complexity of animations, basically, right? It's just a lot. And like, well, that's the point too, in the sense of like, I don't mind when they're changed for like, I would rather them do fewer attachments and have them change the gameplay of the guns, right? That's kind of what Helldivers does, right? It's not very like thoroughly baked, but and here's the thing too, right? I would say if you're trying to expect like Tarkov level customizations with your guns, like keep in mind Tarkov's been in early access for like what 7-8 years at this point, and in the grand scheme of things, Tarkov has not added a lot of content outside of their guns. They have added, like, they've added new maps, they've added new quests, and they added new guns. That's the 3 things Tarkov has done, along with reworking their engine and backend and all that stuff because of cheaters. Like, they have added content, but at its core, right, they haven't finished the game yet. It's still not a whole experience. Oh, really? I mean, it should be just simple as, like, clicking it, right? That's usually how it works. I haven't used Amazon Prime in forever, though, so I would not know, but, like, yeah, they're trying to hide it now so you can't use it anymore. I mean, if they want Twitch to be big, that's kind of like the big draw of Twitch, right? Is those free little extra money little grabs there for using Amazon Prime. That's too, is fine. I mean, UE5 has tools for it in the engine, but like you still have to do like that is the crux of always like things like animations and stuff like that, is it's just a manual piece of work, right? Like there are tools you can use to make it quicker, but you still have to go through everything and set it up first. And like it's when you get to animations and making animations look good, it's just a tedious, slow process. And it's something that it's not like a tool can make it a little bit faster, but ultimately it's just a bandwidth thing, right? You have to have more people doing it. Like, keep in mind, right, when you have, like, think of, like, Pixar, right? Pixar their whole thing mainly is animation. Like, sure, they do artwork and stuff, but, like, their whole thing is animating that artwork. And they have hundreds of employees, I don't know how many employees they have, but, like, their movies take hundreds of people. I'm not sure how they used to, I'm not sure how much it is now, to be honest. This is just me speaking out, like, out of my ass, but like, I know historically Pixar is like they're big companies, like hundreds of people, if not, well, probably only hundreds. Animation is a tedious process. Blood Panda, they have, right? But like, they even mentioned in the last Q&A, I think they said they've hired more animators. Like, I think 1 or 2 of them, right? But like, it's, you know, you only have so much money. And like, that's like kind of like why I say on a certain level, less is more. Because sometimes you can't afford more. Yeah, you just, that's good old late stage capitalism paste. 11,000 and 1.1k employees, that's insane. 50 animators, that's still an insane amount of animators though, right? Hey, Nasco. Doesn't need a big pipe, Blaze. Blaze, I have some bad news though. Some cargo got lost. I got bugged. What do you mean, Cronin? Can you elaborate? Can you, like, I'm not sure, like, meta in regards to, like, this game, or just, like, overall? Like, elaborate. Ah! Grenade launchers. Oh, Captain, no, 100%. So many of the attachments in Tarkov are literally just there for vibes. It is because Tarkov's a PvP game, right? It's a game about the meta, right? And so, like, you're using the best of the best or using nothing at all. I mean, you're always gonna have that kind of vibe in regards to PvP games, right? There's like, people will force a meta in games like that, right? When there was a PvP. No, I mean, like, it's just Cronin, like, there's so many different ways of pursuing something like that. I just gave, like, ideas, but, like, oh, man, like, there's lots of different ways of pursuing Endgame, and it's kind of what you're looking for, right? But, like, the main premise I always say, right, is, like, we've had Tarkov for 7 or 8 years, like, in a game like this that's not live service, that's not trying to keep players constantly engaged and constantly playing it for, you know, revenue slash metrics, right? You can actually provide a game with a sense of, like, ending or closure. Not like a narrative ending, but like more of like a cycle ending, right? In the way of like Risk of Rain. And not like literally like Risk of Rain, but like in the sense of you can have these overall gameplay loops that might go to some grand culmination, right? As opposed to traditional extraction shooters. In a way, in the 7 and 8 years we've had Tarkov, right? Never once have we had the ability to actually escape from Tarkov. And in a way, that's kind of what I want from this game, is a way of completing a loop or a cycle, right? A way of escaping from Tarkov. And like, that's kind of like, and the way you do that, right, in the sense of you have your escape from Tarkov, you have your like end of the Forever Winter for that particular scav life cycle, and that in a way is the prestige, right? That's how prestige has always been used, right? Like a new game plus almost. And you can design systems that work into that too, right? To add some replayability. There's so much potential depth there. And you can do it in ways like base building, you can do it in ways like actual, more like quest design or quests. Lots of different ways. You can have it intersect too. I think they're working on narrative elements. I think they realized between Lordos, or rather with Lordos, that people were like yearning for more narrative elements like that, right? Yeah, we have mini base building, but it is very, very early, right? It is the skeleton. And in a way too, right? Like, it's hard to say what they're aiming to do also, just because, yeah. Hopefully the new community moderator slash Discord moderator will be able to help fix that, you know, transparency issue. But like, there is kind of a question mark in regards to like what the end game is going to look like. We know it's apparently coming, but like, they do not want to give us any ideas what that might be. Or look like. Because yeah, like right now there's no really progression in the game. Once you play it for like, once you know the loop, you can start a new account and within an hour you'll basically be back to where you were. You won't have as many resources as you would normally have, but like you basically have everything unlocked. Yeah, it's essentially like, yeah, the Prime subs, they're not free. It's basically, if you have Amazon Prime, you get the Prime sub, right? It's just a way of them subsidizing Twitch. Or like, basically, it's a way of them trying to like incentivize you to actually use Twitch and pay for Twitch. It is Elijah. It's purely PvE. There is online co-op, but like, there's no PvP in the game. I mean, I would hesitate calling that progression though, to be honest. Like, Bunko's questline is fine, but like, Bunko's questline kind of has the issue of a lot of like OG Tarkov quests, where it's like, it incentivizes its like run in, run out style. About 6. I think I'm the only one actually streaming on Twitch right now, unless someone else started recently. Where do I go from here? I guess down. Ow. Hello. I would rather them revisit the quests for Bunko first, to be honest. Like, the quest, in a way it's a map issue, but I'd rather focus on the quest because the map issue is much harder to solve. A lot of Bunko's quests really just incentivize, like, get in, press E on something, then leave. And I feel like quests that kind of reinforce that kind of design just make the game less immersive, because it just forces you to like, it incentivizes you getting in, pressing E, then running out. It makes a lot of the quests for Bunko right now feel like filler.
I think they spotted us. That's it for
I saw the post. I didn't watch it, but I just saw the post on it. You don't enjoy Red Staircase?
again. Until the next time.
Yeah, I have no idea, unfortunately. Though I appreciate the support regardless, even if you can't give me Prime. I guess we'll play Staircase. I don't know. I have no nice things to say about Stairway. I guess I have one nice thing. It looks cool. That's where it ends. I am a Stairway hater. Let's go over to a different gun. Everything can't be formed though, I feel like, but I don't know. I could be in the minority, I have no idea, right? Like, hey, maybe my opinions are the minority, and that, you know, that's perfectly fine. Fine with me, but I am of the opinion that Stairway needs a bit more substance to it than just looking cool. Alright, 308, where are you?
Another beautiful day on the surface.
Yeah, Neoprene, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing that eventually. Considering Miles references Tarkov a lot, that was a big ask in Tarkov for the longest time. And considering we have entry fees now for maps, it definitely feels like we're going to be seeing some interlinked aspects of maps too. But like, even if this map... Even if this map's supposed to be a transit map, I still think it falls flat. Like, in a way, if we're gonna have transit maps, I would much prefer them to be like the original experiences you would have in like a classical like RPG, right? Where as opposed to being, say for example, like a large map like this, a bunch of small different maps for like random encounters, right? And that would probably not even be a good design anyway. It might be too tedious anyway to have like the random it'd be like Pokemon, right? Where sometimes moving between maps you get a random encounter. Would that be fun or annoying at a certain point, right? Especially when you start seeing recycled ones. But like, my idea of transit maps aren't big maps like this. They're like small, like very small, almost tile set like maps where like it's an encounter or two and then you leave. Like, say for example, it's like, oh yeah, you encounter your Ruskin patrol while moving to this location. Like, what do you do? And if you like, say if you fail, you get into a fight with them, you load into a map. Or maybe you can just do it all in raid, right? Like where you like, your Ruskin patrol, like figure out what to do, right? You can sneak by them, let them pass, you could try shooting them. Would that be interesting to do over and over again, moving between maps, or is like, and naturally it'd be a chance, right? But in my mind, if I was trying to do transit maps, I would think of something more like that than this. Now, counterpoint to that, if this map was like to some special location, like if you're familiar with Tarkov, right? If this map was going to labs, that's a different story entirely, but yeah. You get to a transit map, Cronin, and you're just climbing a ladder for an hour. Gameplay. Whoa, whoa. There's lots of different ways of balancing it, right? But like, it raises the question, right? If you make a transit map optional and not part of your gameplay loop, was all of the work made to create it worth the effort when you're pushed for people and content? Is the juice worth the squeeze if it's not gonna be like this inclusion? What do you mean about Build Panda in regards to more than one? Oh, we have no idea if they're doing transit regions at all, right? It just, like, from the general vibe of, like, what I get from Miles and his Q&As, like, considering how much of the time in Tarkov that was a requested feature, I feel like that's definitely rubbed off on the team here. I would almost say it's not an if, but when, to have multi-raid maps. And that might be part of the progression whole thing too. Yeah, I think it will do John a better job of conveying kind of the scale of the game also when you're having to move around these like the game does not do it has to. I understand why it has to, right? You have to have this fog in place because naturally you can't render an entire backscape landscape background, right? Like it is taxing. They probably could, but it require a lot of work they probably can't do right now, but like there's not a lot of areas in the game right now where you see a lot going on outside of the map itself. And so like transit areas where the main actual gameplay is very small and the ambiance is huge because you're not supposed to be in the map for very long can maybe do a good job of conveying the scale a lot better. Like this map does make you feel small, but like it's weird. I don't know. In a way, I think the shortness of this map works against how it's trying to make you feel small, right? Like everything about this map screams to me it's trying to make you feel small, but it doesn't feel like it actually accomplishes that goal. And I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm guessing it maybe has to do something with the actual, like, how long in the map you're traveling, right? Or rather, we have this giant staircase, but like, I don't know, just something about this doesn't feel big. It could be the fact that we're not seeing the landscape around us. Could be the fact the map's actually pretty small considering the giant staircase. It could be lots of things. It could be the lack of skyscrapers around us making us feel small too. Like, for some reason, at least for me, right, this map doesn't make me feel small despite it heavily suggesting that it should. Like it feels like it's trying to convey that, but it just doesn't hit that for me. And I would say too, actually, weirdly enough, this area right here actually probably does the job of the map a lot better than most of the map, right? This set piece here, like, makes me feel small, right? Like these grand megastructures around us and like the like how, in a way, I think perhaps that maps that aren't taking you into the equation in regards to like the scope of things is what makes you feel small, right? Because like naturally they're not expecting gameplay here, so this is all just to their own scale, right? And I guess the cleverness comes in is how do you making the maps feel accidentally movable, right? Like naturally when you're designing a map you have to make it playable for the character, right? But doing that in such a way where you hide it under the layers of this, for example, the scale. You need a map that lets you move around it without having too much friction, but also conveys the scale really well. Where this map, it just feels down here, it just doesn't feel right. Like, this does a better job than the rest of the map in making me feel small. Because it looks like it's awe-inspiring, right? How small you are. But because of the rest of the map feels so grounded almost, the rest of the map feels almost like it's accommodating the fact that you're small. I don't know. I mean, if its clear purpose is only to look, like, have cool, like, statues, I would say it's a pretty shitty purpose. You can have cool statues in a map that doesn't require it to be only that. If you want to have a set piece like that to look cool, you know where you can do that in? Like transit areas or maps that are like actually very small and bespoke that aren't big maps by themselves, right? Like that's the perfect transit map, right? But like I would even say it's too big to be just a transit map though. I don't know. There's not enough gameplay on it. Like the core of the premise, right? There's not enough gameplay on it, right? I'm never engaged when I'm playing that map. All right, that works. Cemetery. We don't need supplies, right? No, we don't need supplies. Hey, Nevius. Yeah, I've been looking at the Discord too much. I saw there's been a few leaked files recently. The commander plus like the fleshy guy. I'm guessing them doing the poll was figuring out what they should probably prioritize. Though, funnily enough, right?
Don't leave anything on the cutting room floor.
I think the leaks we've seen so far, right, have all been for units that like are not the ones we voted for. The bridge? The bridge is a good, like, no, that bridge is awesome, right? The bridge on Ashen Mesa kind of almost highlights what I'm kind of saying about Stairway. Because the bridge on Ashen Mesa does a good job of having something that's not just to scale for humans, but just being big enough and being, like, scalable enough to be useful for us, right? It does a good job of, like, melding this kind of, like, aesthetic plus function for us, right? The function we're using it for is not by its design, it's just happenstance that we can use it because of its current situation. So Cronin, there's a poll in the Discord, and predominantly right now people voted for Europa to get the next unit, or the next focus. Which is fair, because Europa does not have special units, right? Europa needs something. I wouldn't say we need a mech though for Europa, right? I just want to see something for Europa. Europa has no special units right now. Its most special unit is literally the medium mech. Everything else is just like bog standard infantry, which isn't bad, right? But it definitely makes them feel a little bit unloved. I mean, they have like the name units, right? But like the Pyro's not even fully implemented, right? There's no flamethrowers in the game yet. Yeah, like he's just a stand-in for right now. He's not even fully functional yet. Well, Duffs, it does a good job, right? Of like saying, like, in a sense of the makeshift bridge over a chasm. Yeah, it's probably a pretty common trope, but at the same time, it does a good job of like, this is not designed for you to use this way, but you were just like, you know, you're using it out of the need for it, right? Imagine instead, Duffs, imagine if the stairway for Stairway wasn't a stairway, but as opposed to being a stairway, it was a pile of collapsed skyscrapers that over time formed this stairway. And so you were ascending, as opposed to this stairway, a pile of ruin that, in a way, as opposed to being a literal stairway, functions as one. Like, that's kind of a way of like having the function of a staircase without having just like a literal staircase. Hello, civilians. Be free. Yeah, or for example, Cronin, exactly right. It could be a mech staircase too. Like, that would be a cool aspect also, as opposed to being a literal staircase. It's a staircase not designed for humans. It's a staircase for war machines. It's a staircase for mechs. So like, you feel small because the staircase you're using is not designed for you.
Bad luck today.
That's another way of doing it too. Like, there's multiple different paths to the same solution of like making players feel small. Escalator date, elevator door. Yeah, the toothpaste. The entire map is just like an elevator up and down. Well, like, Cronin, that becomes like the whole way of like designing the map, right? That becomes like the actual map design issue where like you figure out the clever ways of providing pathways up for players that don't seem intentional, right? that's kind of the exploration game loop, is you provide them like little puzzles and little trips and like little ways of learning the map, so they can actually learn how to ascend this staircase that's not designed for them. Wait, I think I'm one short, aren't I? No, we got 5. We're good. That can work too. That's probably much more harder to do, Darkstar, just because of the AI and making it actually like responsive and like fully fledged like that. And in a perfect world, that would be dope as shit. Like ascending or descending a staircase during a siege and trying to avoid being seen. I would be surprised if they can get to that level of complexity, though. But I do agree with the premise of that being really fucking cool. I'm trying not too much to base the ideas of map design on specific AIs working as intended, right? Or working like, I'm trying not to base the maps off particular units performing their jobs well. I mean, yeah, but Corinne, at the same time too, right? Something that gets old. Like if it's a static event, that like it's cool the first time, the second time it's like all right, and the third and fourth time, like when it started happening every single raid, it doesn't feel good anymore. It just feels kind of cheap. And for a linear game, it works, right? But like for a replayable game, it just doesn't feel like right. I don't think night shifts I don't think night shifts are that special, to be honest. They're just rare. I don't know. All right, that was our fun time at cemetery. The dog is so weird now. If you just time it right, like we saw dog maybe once in that entire time. Trench? Why not trench? Let's be an old man. I mean, I guess, John, the question is, right, is it really likely that, considering the current, like, the war, right, it definitely gives the vibe that, like, you're battling over supplies and postures, but, like, a whole-on siege like that is a lot of resources, and what are you trying to gain? If there was some strategic importance to, like, the wall, maybe, but, like, right now, without that context, it doesn't feel like the wall's worth fighting over all that much. Did he mod? I know Warhammer mods the game occasionally. I mean, you can make it part of a quest line too, but like, right now with all the quests being repeatable, that's its own thing though. I wonder how many quests are supposed to be repeatable at the end of the day. No name, your guess is as good as mine. I have the faintest of ideas. I do not have any connection to the dev team at all, so I have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine. All I can say is, like, look at the current cadence of patches. It's been like once every 2 months, 3 months. So like, go from that. We had a patch last month basically, so like I wouldn't expect one till maybe June. And even then, if they're cooking for longer, yeah. They also do like, they just drop patches, yeah. They do not provide any illusions or Illusions. They don't provide any info on upcoming patches at all, right? So it's like, you might get an inkling the day before or two, but like, really you don't know until they just randomly drop a patch. I had to free it, it was stuck.
All or nothing.
Everything's dead. Yeah, this map does a good job, right? This map does make you feel small, because you're like, yeah, you were at the very bottom of a large trench line. This map does Stairway better. Like, imagine if you spent your time on Stairway climbing up, like, this debris field, right? Of, like, collapsed mechs and bridges and stuff like that. Like, just very cool. This is Water Thief Old Man. And like they could fix that pace, right? Like there are so many areas, like there's such the one plus of this map I would think too is that your ability to add extra rooms or levels if you want to, right? Like out of all of the maps, this is probably one of the easier ones to expand upon, right? Like, you can build stuff up, you can build stuff sideways, you can expand a trench line or clear it out. Into the heads. Are you trying to start a mech versus tank argument? I see through your ruse. God.
Work our way through.
Hello. I honestly feel like that's more based on the tank AI though. If the tanks were hull down and like if the tanks were normal tanks, they would be wrecking mechs. Good? Alright, we're good. The secret to playing with no HUD mode is during every fight and after every fight, you just hit your healing button. Generally speaking, it's like, if you take enough damage, you'll get staggered, right? And that's how you kind of know you're taking a lot of damage is when you get staggered. Outside of that, it's just the name of the game is just pop meds whenever you're not currently in combat. Make sure you're topped off. I imagine, like, right now, once the AI gets grenades, I think they'll have a lot better time actually, like, defending locations. Right now, the AI will always, like, move forward to you and try to shoot you whenever you fight them. But, like, they can actually probably they can start having alternate patterns once they get things like grenades for defensive measures. Med check. I got a few left. Okay, we're good.
Taking fire.
Yeah, there is a reason why I always loot all or try to loot all before seeing anything. Yeah, once your bar for healing gets muddled up by like cigarettes or fertilizer, yeah, it's real rough real quick. Well, throw grenades around corners, throw grenades at you, just like generally flush you out from like baiting them into like, corners, right? Like for example, as opposed to them like walking up there and trying to like, as opposed to them walking up there and into my crosshair, right? They check a few grenades my way and flush me out. And granted, that's getting to advanced AI when you start doing like grenades plus flush out plus push. But like even just throwing grenades can help out a lot in that regard. Just an extra layer of like interactiveness when people camping. No. I kind of figure as loot all is basically you're taking their backpack and you're turning it upside down into your backpack. That's kind of how I view loot all, right? It's just like you're just like basically throwing the stuff into your rig from their backpack. Hence you don't know necessarily everything you get. Got 2 medkits left. Well, I don't think you're ever holding it, right? It's just that you're throwing it into your backpack, right? Like, have you ever, like, turned a bag upside down and let all of it fall out? Like, sure, you might catch glimpses of what things are, but, like, overall, you don't see everything. Especially with stuff small, right? So imagine you're turning a bag upside down, but you're also throwing that into another bag. That's kind of how I view loot all. It depends on the grenade momentum, right? What type of grenade, what type of unit, what type of like conditions.
Fighting is too heavy. Let's keep low.
Like I imagine too, there's gonna be different types of grenades. Alright, X on fire, trying to leave. I don't know. I know like Tarkov introduced impact grenades. I kind of, from a gameplay standpoint, I think impact grenades are just bad. Like I like in a milsimi like realistic game like Tarkov, squint's eyes, but like I can understand impact grenades, but like in an actually more stylized and like game that's not trying to, I'd rather not see impact grenades. Grenade launchers is a different story, like, but like as actual throwables, hell, honestly, I would see too. From an actual gameplay standpoint, hell, even if the grenade launchers didn't function that way, it'd be probably interesting too, right? If they function more of a tool of crowd control and suppression as opposed to a tool of like instantly kill you. I honestly think it would probably be better gameplay than just like getting randomly shot by a grenade launcher. Like hell, I mean, even Target didn't let you do that. And here's the thing, right? Where do we draw the line between stylized and realistic? Where is that line being drawn, right? Like, are we making things realistic for realistic sake, or are we making things realistic for game? Like, are we more focused on being akin to real life in a stylized sci-fi game, or are we more interested in making the game actually fun? Are we trying to be a milsim in a sci-fi game? See, I don't agree with that opinion. Like, I don't want to be realistic. I want it. Like, I want things to be grounded, but I don't necessarily mean that by realistic though. I want things to function by like a realistic rule set, but not necessarily be realistic in regards to like actual military. Because like, go play Arma at that point. There's already plenty of like realistic extraction shooters already too, right? Yeah, exactly. Like games are fun because they're not real. And like, there's a difference between grounded and then there's a difference between grounded and realistic. And like, the problem is too, everyone has a different definition of different definition of what they would call realistic is, right? Like, for example, if you take a Call of Duty player, right, they might call Battlefield realistic. If you take a Battlefield player, right, they might call Squad realistic. Squad's probably not a good example, right? Or actually, let's say, oh, let's do that for example. Okay, so like a Call of Duty player calls Battlefield 1 realistic or Battlefield realistic. A Battlefield player will call Escape from Tarkov realistic. Escape from Tarkov will call Squad or Arma realistic, right? There's different definitions of realistic depending on the person, right? What's more important for me is like the game is grounded in some sense of reality, right? And it's consistent in that. Yeah, it's important the game internally makes sense to itself, right? And like, that's kind of why, for example, too, I always harp on the guns for trying to be realistic in a sense, or trying to be akin to real life guns, because you're always going to draw those comparisons to realistic, right? You are literally like begging for them by doing realistic guns, or having the visage, the vision, or the look of realistic guns. But going back to the grenade point, right? Like, in a way, right? I would much prefer if, like, I think right now, does anyone enjoy being domed by a grenade launcher Ruska infantry? Does anyone actually enjoy that loop? Does anyone think that, like, you know, just get randomly domed from your Ruska grenade launcher guy, the officer in the front, is actually interesting and fun and engaging as a gameplay loop? And like, you could, if you like that, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that, like, I honestly think most people, when they think about a situation like that, would probably not find it fun. Doesn't mean all of you won't find it fun, but there's probably, I think, a good proportion of you who probably don't view as getting shot by a grenade launcher in the face and instantly dying as fun. So, like, I'm not saying this is the solution, right? But would it be more interesting if the grenade launcher for the Ruska infantry still had a high velocity, right? But it didn't instantly explode when it hit you? Would it be more interesting if, like, yeah, the grenade launcher infantry actually flushed you out and made you move or react, right? As opposed to, like, a situation where the grenade launcher infantry just instantly domes you and you die. Instead, make it a choice, right, where it hits you, it hurts you a bit, perhaps, and then you have to choose what to do from there. Do you run away? Do you eat it? Do you just take cover? What do you do in reaction to this grenade hitting you? And that's not the only solution too, right? You can make it a gas grenade. You could do the same effect but having it explode. Like, there's different levels of, like, what you can do to make grenades more interesting. And it goes into the whole point with like impact grenades too, right? Like, are impact grenades ultimately something that's very fun to include in your game? 'Cause I like, there's a lot of pushback, or there was a lot of pushback in Tarkov when impact grenades came out, because it's fucking miserable to just like have someone priming an impact grenade, you hit a corner and they throw an impact grenade at you and you die immediately. I mean, it's part of Tarkov, right? That happens all the time in Tarkov, so it's okay to like hand wave and be like, this is just part of Tarkov. Sometimes you just die. But it doesn't make it feel good any better though, right? It's still a really shitty situation to get randomly impact grenaded. I mean that's PvP, right? It's like, it's why it's so easy to hand wave that, but like wave that away from Tarkov, considering Tarkov is what it is though. But in a PvE game, should you actually try and keep shitty situations like that? Well, Cronin, you say that, but there was plenty of situations too back in the OG Tarkov, back before they reworked grenade AI a little bit, where the NPC scavengers in Tarkov would randomly throw regular grenades at you at such a trajectory where it would airburst you without any ability from you to react. It would throw a regular RGD grenade, it would arc it in such a way where it would explode near you and instantly kill you, and it was fucking miserable. It was just a random chance of you dying to a scav that had a grenade. And you would never hear the grenade, right? Because the grenade would airburst. And like, ultimately, like, that's realistic, right? Grenades can do that. Like, that's perfectly fine for a realistic game like Tarkov. But like that begs the question for this game, right? Is this game trying to be realistic with its giant mechs and sci-fi guns? Hold on, Toothy, move! All right, we're good. Toothy, I'm sorry. Well, in Tarkov they do, yeah. And Tarkov, that was the issue, right? They would aimbot you and like perfectly throw the grenade to like, they were designed that way, right? But no, like, yeah, in like sense of, there's no choice to be made when you get randomly domed by a grenade launcher from your Eska, right? In a way, it's punishing you, but would it not be like funner to punish you a bit less, but actually interact like, would it not be better to still like hurt you a bit, right? But then give you a choice, right? Oh, like, oh shit, I'm not dead, but I'm like in a bad spot now. Do I need to run away, find new cover, run into the squad of Euroska infantry aiming at me? Well, the commander's supposed to be the one that was like legal pop, a guy with like the face. The guy with the giant shield, right? That's the commander. It's the same thing with the assassins too, right? On Scorch, or on Scrapyard, they're supposed to be cloaked. It's some bug with grenades, right? Yeah. They just sometimes will not explode properly. I wonder if it's something to do with the actual terrain. Like, is it like a line cast from the impact point around it, essentially? If it impacts a wall, it doesn't actually do anything? I'm curious how they're doing the actual, like, explosion part of it, right? Because, like, that was a big thing in, like, for example, CSGO, right? Where if you had like a staircase, you could have a grenade right under you, but as long as the grenade was on the other side of the staircase, like diagonally to you, it wouldn't do any damage to you. I need to get out of here. No, you're not aggro, you can't do this to me. Chopper's here to ruin the fun. Do. Oh god damn it. I didn't deserve this. Let me, oh god, to raid. No. I said no, I don't consent. You can't shoot me if I don't consent. I said no. I said no! Is it just a spawn? The gods have blessed me. No. You know, just for all of this. Can you not path here? Really? Hello? Can you? Sir?
If it's our time, it's our time.
Huh. Curious. Can you come this way? Yeah? Unplayable. Anyway. Doesn't want to follow me. Who's a good boy? Who's a good...
Don't spread out.
Oh, we're good.
Oh shit, we made it.
I'll take 1 out of 2. We beat the chopper. Let's do a little elephant. Let's go over to Gunhead too. Actually, let's do Gunhead with a different head. Wait, did I just prestige? God, I didn't mean to prestige. Oh well, fresh Gunhead account. Back to the 9mm SMG. I'll have to compensate for that, I feel. I would be surprised, Crone, if we get there. I think that's like such a like non-important issue. Or rather, issue that like isn't worthy of the time right now. Like in a perfect world, yeah, it'd be nice if they could actually make companions worthwhile, but like that sounds like a big ask. A very big ask. All right, we have this. We have this. I sound different. I don't know, maybe. There you go. Honestly, if they change grenade launchers too to be more of like a shooting a projectile and having it land and do some effect, as opposed to just explode, Like, if the explosion was an impact, but just, like, timed afterward, too, it would probably be much better against, or rather more balanced against, like, medium mechs and stuff, right?
Initiating protocol.
It's got some decent jumps. It's pretty substantial if it procs. Sometimes it won't proc against enemies. If I recall correctly, it's... what's it again? Is it 10k, I think, starting at the center, and then spreads out to like 1k at 7.5 meters?
Targets.
See you, Cronin. Like, it's good damage, but like, it just doesn't proc all the time. I think the premise is that he's supposed to be like actually like a pretty old robot design-wise, and so his movements are supposed to be kind of robotic and stiff and like, you know, artificial, right? He wasn't designed to emulate human movement. He was designed to do a job like construction, where it's not really about aesthetics and finesse. Oh, some blending issues? Okay. It could be by design too. I don't mind it all that much, to be honest. All right, do we have a friendly little robot down here?
Initiating protocol 726. Close combat. Authorized.
He's a little just a frame, basically, yeah. All right, do.
Under fire. Multiple vectors. Seek cover immediately.
Wait, what Claymore? Man, I'm still surprised too. I haven't played Tarkov online forever. I am very surprised though they added in trip mines.
Remove my safety.
Oh, I need to have cigarettes for you. Anyone got some ciggies? Nope. So Marcos, there should be a community stream, I think this Friday, though this Friday might be iffy if I'm streaming or not. It kind of depends. I imagine I should be able to let you guys know if I'm not, but it would be either this Friday or next Friday. And it's just first come, first serve in regards to community streams. Wait, did I have civilians here I'm supposed to rescue? Did I not pick up that quest? Oh well. Yeah, like keep in mind, so like I am based off US East. So like you can play with high pings. The experience is not very good once you get up to like the couple hundreds of pings. It is straight peer-to-peer. Things get really weird really quickly when you start playing with high ping and peer-to-peer in this game. Like it is the plus and minus of peer-to-peer, right? It's like peer-to-peer, you don't need servers. Downside of peer-to-peer is it can be a really janky experience sometimes. And it's like, you can't really at a certain point blame the developers. It's just kind of the downside of peer-to-peer. Like, it's got a real cost, and that's part of the real cost. There's only so much you can do when you have a high-paying, you know, experience with peer-to-peer. All right, here is your cigarettes, sir. Wait, where are they? Am I blind? Oh, there we go. I am literally blind. Ignore me. Quite literally blind.
We should return to a safe area.
I honestly think that's a big selling point of the game, right? Like, I do think there's some, like, there is some real fatigue of the constant live service nature of so many games right now. It is exhausting. Maybe we don't go this way. Maybe we just leave. Every game trying to, like, keep you online, selling you a battle pass, forcing you into, like, online gameplay loops. And, like, certain games, like, I don't have a problem with that in nature. Like, it's perfectly fine to have games like that. It's just that every game is trying to do that now. Every game is trying to shoot for this live service moon. Oh yeah, we didn't find Goldbrick that run. Oh well. It just feels kind of like, right at a certain point, just like, well, that's just business in a nutshell right now. All of the MBAs are trying to say, we know what to do, just, you know, follow the trends. There we go. And now we're looking for Tormentor, I'm pretty sure. Which I think is you, right? I think it's Eurasia for Tormentor. Actually, I mean, this will work too. Yeah, it's very shitty, right? Like, you can kind of feel like, yeah, Bungie is unfortunately run by Seuss now. So it's falling apart. Bungie's death is gonna be from trend chasing. And they're so late to the party too. It's so, I mean, granted, they might have had Marathon in development for a while now, but at the same time, it's just, it's kind of like the issue in regards to, no, game, hold on, let me fix that. It's sort of the issue in regards to, oh, what was that game that flopped horribly? Concord, right? Concord came out like way too late for the hero shooter genre, when the genre was on its dying breath, right? Like, yeah, it just doesn't work. There's no shame in trying it, right? Like, I'm not saying Marathon's gonna be a bad game or good game, but it's got a lot going against it right now in regards to the public perception of the game. Does that mean the game will be good or bad? No, but like you can see it with Concord, right? Concord had a very negative sentiment in the public sphere, and that kind of doomed it from the very start. Concord might have been like a 6 or 7 out of 10 game. It might have been a very mediocre game, but because it had all of this clout behind it from, you know, the narratives being pushed from, you know, just the content cycle, it was basically doomed from the fucking start. Like, Concord with enough time, it might have actually like turned into a fine game. but like it had all of the public sphere going against it.
Authorized.
Really? No sniper? No payback? Like, yeah, it's like, I'm not saying Concord's a good game, but it definitely got a lot more fucking... a lot more hate than I think it deserved, right? It was, for all intents and purposes, a mediocre game. But, like, it got clowned on because that was just the narrative of the moment, right? I wouldn't even go that far, though, John. That's just the narrative people picked up, right? Like, sure, the character design might have been shit or ass, right? Like, that's perfectly fair and all and well, but, like, that's the narrative that got picked up because it gains traction. It's the outrage culture. People want to be, like, it's so easy to, like, blame Concord based on that, right? Say, they care too much about, you know, shit like being inclusive as opposed to making a good game, but the people who are doing character design are people then different from doing gameplay. But it's really fucking easy and convenient to blame it on this one factor. Oh, it's because they were woke. That's why they failed. They failed because they released a mediocre game that got a lot of traction in Negative Cloud Online. So they were doomed at the start. But like, there's no nuance anymore in the, like, and you know, and on narratives, right? It's gotta be a simplified, like, very vitriolic take to gain traction, so there's no nuance anymore. The people who use the word woke and like, if you ever watch a video and someone describes something as woke, it's trying to simplify their point too much for an audience to gain. Whenever I hear the word woke in a video, I'm negatively inclined to view that video just because I know it's a word to be used to gain viewership on both sides, right? And I know their take is going to be basically performative at most. And that doesn't mean their take is wrong, but it's viewing their take through that lens, right? They are twisting and molding their take to make sure it performs in that lens so it gets more traction.
It's returning home.
All right, let's run it back. Show me my actual targets, please. It's just, it does, yeah, it's so fucking, you just call it suicide. Why is it so fucking hard to say what it is? It's just suicide.
Perhaps today is the day.
Suicide, death, killed, like, it's just, why bother? Just call it what it is. No one knows what woke means at this point because it's been every you could ask 100 different people right now from both sides and you would probably get 100 different answers. No one knows what it means anymore because everyone will just. Okay, here's the thing. There is a reason, for example, when you get to academia and say philosophy papers, when you get to academia, right, and you start reading papers and like reports in academia, there's a large segment and a lot of papers they will go over the definition of how they are saying things. Like if they use the word woke in a paper, they will define objectively or they will define definitively what that word means to them. That doesn't mean the definition they're applying to that word is right. They're letting you know what they're saying when they use that particular word. However, you never find that in the public sphere anymore. You only find it in academia. Like, and that's a disservice, right? Because now no one knows the fuck anyone's talking about anymore. because they all use these fucking buzzwords that have 100 different meanings based on who you're talking to. So it's not about understanding anyone anymore. It's just about fucking gaining clout online and using, you know, fucking buzzwords. Let me up. All right. Gold brick? No gold brick. Sniper? There we go. The public does define the ultimate definition of a word, right? But Eustace, but in that regard, the public can have different definitions of the same word. Can you even hit him from here? Okay, definitely can't see him. Got him. First shot. Alright, there's no gold brick around, unfortunately.
We have the munitions to remove the threat.
Yeah, I mean, they can be underneath too. Let's see if he's on top of the thing. Nope, doesn't look like it.
Under fire from multiple vectors.
Immediately.
Immediately.
I would probably need you to elaborate on that, Eustace. I'm not sure. I think that's a real overgeneralization, but like, yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that take, but I would also need to understand what you mean by that take a little more, I feel like. Hey, little brick. I don't know what you're doing in the field over here, but...
Check those.
Yeah, leave me alone. I mean, if your point is that, like, I don't know. Yeah, turns out single shotgun's not good versus hunter killers. Good old HKs. I mean, like, the thing is, though, too, like, if you're... Academics have always been political. Like, or just college in general has always been political. Like, that's kind of... it's always been that way. But, like, when you're getting to, like, particular segments of, like, academia, right, in regards to, like, philosophy, they will try and, like, you know, look at it from a as neutral as possible viewpoint, right? I mean, that's, I'd blame that's just more... I think I understand where you're coming from, but that's more or less about academia, but just more as a cultural thing as a whole. So, like, naturally it bleeds into academia because it's part of the culture. And that's more about, like, just social media, right? Alright, let's go to a different character. Okay, if your point is that people are acting within the interest of financial incentives, I mean, that's always kind of have been the case. It's just probably more forthcoming now. Like, if your point that you're making is that there are financial incentives for certain groups to act certain ways, that's always been the case, right? Marcos, because I usually play solo, because I prefer the game solo. So yeah, I don't play with community members right now because it's much more peaceful for me to play just this way, right? It's harder for me to like actually talk to the audience when I'm not playing with other people. And just because I prefer it to. Marcos, if you're looking for people to play with though, you can join the Discord. It's on the Steam page. That's the community Discord. And there will be people in there you can LFG for once you verify that you own the game. If you're looking for people to play with. Well, informatic, that's part of the whole issue, right? And to some degree, is that everything has been so, like it's the death of nuance, right? Like it's people are not okay anymore with being wrong sometimes, or rather, their points have to be right, and there's no compromise, right? Like everything has to be infallible. Like your candidate has to be this, this paragon, right? They can't have some issues with them. They have to be perfect. And that you have to conform mentally to make them perfect too, right? And if you don't, if you question them, right, at any point in time, you're no longer like, you are the enemy. It's everything that social media pushes everything to be black and white because that's what people engage with most. Come on, Scrapyard, show me some quests. And so really it's just the death of nuance. And critical thinking in that regard too, right? It's rejecting the facts in front of you, basically. When I get into an argument with someone, right, I will generally ask them, is there anything I can say to you whether it's like, assuming everything I say is true, would anything I could say convince you that you're wrong? And sometimes they'll say no, and then we can end the conversation there. All right, Scrapyard. I mean, it's Marcos, it's a fine line, right? Like, there are plenty of games, like, think of all the Paradox games, right? The Paradox games have politics in them, right? But like, I think plenty of games are political, right? But it's more about like, are you going to be injecting the current politics into your game? Is a different story, right? And there's something wrong too with like, yeah, well, I think we're probably getting too close to the line here where it would pull in modern. This is I try to keep this channel as apolitical as possible, so like talking about things high level is perfectly fine. But the second we start getting into very current buzzwords like identity politics, it gets a bit hazy. It's getting a bit too specific. And to remain apolitical, right? Not really, but I also have way too much time in it. And I'm also just a gamer. It's not a left or right thing. It's more of Eustace. I'm not saying that you're the issue here, bringing up identity politics. It's more of, it starts inviting people potentially into the chat who might try and drag it into the mire. I'm okay with talking about it. It's just like, it's gotta be very careful in regards to I start having to filter myself a lot more, essentially. Oh my god, it's on the fucking wall. Because, like, to be perfectly fair, I can say things that'll piss off both sides. I'm very good at that. Leave me alone. Get out of the wall. Yeah, well, momentum in a way, because IRL politics right now is so fucking exhausting and omnipresent. It, like, when you're going to your escapism playing a video game, the last thing you want to usually see is something that pulls you back into the real world you're trying to escape. So, like, I have no problem with that, right? Like, I understand the whole premise of, like, yeah, I don't want politics in my game, especially considering current day politics, because it just reminds you of the thing you're trying to escape from. Are you Look at my hand. The hand is all wrong. Unplayable. But this is my point, right? When you have so many different like different characters with hand grips and stances and models and like attachments, this is the issue, right? In the sense of like, this is not a big issue, but it is a clear issue of quality, right? This is not a high quality animation because of like it's not synced up perfectly. But I can't blame them considering how many different guns they have, characters and attachments, right? Like, naturally, something like this is going to slip through where the crouch isn't lined up properly. It's just, I would say, like, I'm a big fan of Bill Burr, actually, in that regard. If you have a problem with Bill Burr, then you are fucking brainwashed. Sorry, not sorry. Bill, if you don't know who Bill Burr is like just the quintessential just person. I don't want to say he's the George Carlin of our times, but in a way he kind of is. Some news pundits were asking him for his take on something political, and he's like, why the fuck are you asking me? I'm a comedian. What the fuck would I know? And that kind of like highlights, almost in a way, one of the biggest issues. You have news people asking for takes from comedians on serious issues, as opposed to asking people who might be more knowledgeable and experts. They're more interested in asking the people who have clout, internet clout, and just fame from just being general people, as opposed to asking people who might know more about the subject matter, but might not be as famous, or might relatively be unknown. Yeah, Bill Burr doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't have a filter. Bill Burr is great. So can fucking public figures, Ego. Here's the thing though, Ego. Bear with me here. Is it more important that the experts get right their subject matter than the random fucking person on the internet who will take a fucking, like... If you ask an expert, right, to be about their opinion on something and they get it wrong, they lose credibility. You ask some random streamer on the internet and they can just hang with it and say, I'm just some random fucking streamer. What the fuck do I know? But I'll still take your paycheck for saying it. An expert has a lot more skin in the game to be wrong about something like that than some random fucking streamer on the internet. Sure, they can be bought. Anyone can be bought, but they have real skin in the game if they're wrong, because that is their choice in life to be expert about that.
I hope the bastards at home appreciate.
Should you immediately believe everything an expert says? No, definitely. Look at what they're saying, do your own research, try to engage with what they're saying, right? But when it comes from taking the opinions of an expert versus some random fucking streamer, yeah, I'm gonna believe the expert a lot more than a fucking streamer. Because if they're wrong, that's their livelihood. They have real skin in the game. So sure, if someone, say some billionaire is gonna give this guy $1 billion to lie as an expert, sure. But is that really fucking happening everywhere for every expert? And in a way too, right? Like that's kind of an issue with news media nowadays too. They're much more interested in getting big names as opposed to getting actual experts, right? Would you rather have some like, yeah, it's just whatever. We didn't do either of our quests. God damn it. Is there something wrong with people, like, what is inherently wrong with believing in an expert in a field? Is this some anti-truther bullshit? Like, if your opinion is that you can't believe an expert in anything, then I guess you just don't believe in anyone or anything, right? If you're not gonna believe that, if you can't believe in the experts in the field of something, right? If they all have these hidden agendas, do you believe nothing anyone tells you? I mean, if that's your viewpoint, sure, I can't fault you for that, but like, if there's some flaw in that logic where you believe some random person but not an expert, why is that the line there? Why is this person credible and this person not? Like, if you believe no one, sure. That's your prerogative, but if you're picking and choosing, and you're picking and choosing someone random as opposed to an expert, like, why? And we can, like, you can say, like, the qualifications for an expert aren't right in the sense of, like, anyone can say they're an expert, then sure, if your focus is on their credibility as an expert, yeah, that's the reason why they usually present their credentials as an expert. And then you're gonna say the credentials aren't valid. Like, if you want to do all of this thing to basically, you know, say this expert's not an expert, you're welcome to go defame them. You can go defame them if you want to, and then you can take them to a court of law and defame them if they sue you, and say that what you're saying is right. That's a whole cycle. Because naturally, if you go to some expert, right, and say they're not an expert, they could probably say you're defaming them, because that's their credibility, right? That's their livelihood. I don't have a problem with you. I don't have a problem with people not believing in things, right? But like, if you're gonna draw this weird arbitrary line between expert and like, if you're gonna believe this random Joe off the fucking internet and not believe an expert, right? Like, it feels like you're just being picky and choosy to choose the narrative you want to believe in and not necessarily going off research, right? If you want to go into, like, if you find an expert who you don't agree with and you go do the research or find other research that, like, you know, at least you're showing your due diligence, right? And there is multiple different experts, right, who give their different opinions. And that's the whole point of nuance and discussions, right, is being able to have those experts sit down and talk about things. Have an honest-to-God debate. I mean, Eustace, that is true, right? Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, by and large, lawsuits are just waged for large corporations to punish individuals. 100%. What do you mean truth hurts? What is that response to? It just seems like you're doing some like truth or bullshit here. It just is what it is. My job is not to convince you, but all I'm saying is, like, if you just draw this weird arbitrary line between who you believe and who you don't, that's just you picking and choosing. And that's perfectly fair, just own up to it. There's nothing inherently wrong with you wanting to believe a certain narrative, but, like, just don't pretend it's not that. You can say the same thing about me, right? That's perfectly fine and fair. I don't fault people for believing one way or the other. I want them to show their reasoning and the reasons why they believe in that one way or the other, right? I don't care about the destination, I care about how you get there. Take me through the mental loops. Because ultimately, right, if we can't understand why people are getting to certain areas, like, we're never gonna correct the behavior or figure out, like, the differences between people, right? Like, if we can't understand the why, how are we gonna fix the, like, the where? See you, Delta. I mean, if I don't want to assume what you're saying with that statement, though. I can kind of draw the parallel. I feel like I know what you're talking about, and I know why you're skirting around saying it, because I asked you to, which I do. Thank you for not mentioning it, because it would be political immediately. Because it's highly publicized. It's just... It's all shit, man. All I'll say is this. If you think one side's better than the other, they're both shit. Now, one might be a steaming pile of shit and one might be dried shit, but they're both shit. And that doesn't say apathy is the right choice. It just means that maybe just... We need to look at the system and not necessarily... We need to look at the road there, right? If we only look at the destination, not the road, nothing will ever get fixed. I tried Gray Zone, Marcus, when it first got pushed out. It was unplayable at launch, so I just refunded it. It was utterly unplayable for me at launch. It was like a stutterfest. It was like 10 FPS. Gray Zone Warfare is another PvE extraction shooter. It is, I think, always online though. That's the downside. Wait, actually, it might have PvP, right? Does it have PvP? It's another extraction shooter, right? It pushed itself out when Tarkov had a big issue in regards to its whole like co-op mode thing, and it was having a lot of negativity around it. Gray Zone Warfare came out really early before it was anything close. It was basically trying to capitalize on Tarkov's fumble, so it pushed itself out really early as a milsim kind of extraction shooter, which it doesn't sound like a bad concept. It was a very, very, very bad experience, at least for me early on. It was, I mean, with the 3080, right, I was getting like 10 to 15 FPS. It was literally unplayable. All right. Am I gonna hand wave away and say that like all power is good? No. Like naturally, there's gonna be like corruption over time. Systems over time. If you've ever seen The Wire, right? Go watch The Wire. The Wire is a great show. And The Wire does a good job of highlighting this prevailing issue of systems at a certain point become more about keeping the system in place as opposed to anything else. Systems, like, there's always a degree of friction when you have things that are like the status quo, and changing them, there's a lot of resistance, right? Because people get used to like the norm of a system, right? And it's the same thing with higher politics and higher political systems, right? There becomes a push, right, where it's about keeping the system working in together, right? Despite the system maybe being flawed. The choices that the people make in the system is more about perpetuating the system than anything else. I would, Ego, see, that's a different thing. That's a different thing, actually. I'm not gonna say there aren't corrupt individuals, but I would rather say the system corrupts individuals as opposed to the individuals corrupt the system. You view the system as the malicious, like a conglomeration of someone's corrupt influence. I view the corrupt influence of the system as affecting the person. Have you never had a job, Ego, where you started out all pristine and well, and you did everything by the books, but as time goes on and you see people get more interested or more comfortable with the system they're working in, ever start to slack off a little bit, maybe cut corners here and there? Have you ever got more comfortable in a job and were more okay with doing things by the books because it was the easiest way and change is hard? Have you never had a job like that? Because every job I've ever had has been like that, where when you start out, you're doing things by the books as you're told, keeping up a good look. And as things progress, naturally, you learn the ropes. You get more comfortable in position, and then, you conform to the system, and you don't try to change anything because it's the easiest way. Yeah, it's literally every job. It's not the person who corrupts the system most of the time, right? It's the system who corrupts the person. And that's not to say, and like this is, once again, generalizations, right? Like this is not every scenario. There are going to be bad actors occasionally, but assuming malice out of everyone in power is, I think, a bad way of going about it. And especially when you get picky and choosy in regards to saying, oh, this particular individual I do not like is corrupt. This particular person I do not like, they have a different policy than what I like. They're a left or a rightist. Because of that, they are innately corrupt. Because I don't agree with their policies. Yeah, preferential bias to some degree, yeah. Like, yeah, because you have a preference on something, you're going to view someone who doesn't abide by those preferences in a negative light. You might assume them to have negative character traits more often than not. As opposed to just having different viewpoints. Well, yeah, and in the sense of, like, my favorite thing is this. There's an anchor, what's his name? Jordan Kelper, I think is his name. Kelper, I think it's Jordan Kelper. He's one of the pundits or like the anchors for The Daily Show. And he talked about this one story, right, where he used to go to Trump rallies a lot. And he would like talk to Trump ralliers about their perspective, and he would kind of do gotcha things, right, in regards to like pointing out clear contradictions in their logic and kind of being like, ha, got you, but not really saying that to their face. And so it was, in a way, kind of performative in that aspect. But he talked about how there was this one kind of vitriolic Trump supporter who followed him around one rally and constantly badgered him. And it was like a guy who, like, Trump flag everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And during this public performance, right, neither of them could really act out of line from what they were expecting each other to act in, right? Jordan was trying to do gotchas on Trump supporters. This guy was trying to badger Jordan Kepler. But they both naturally just arrived by pure happenstance at an airport, right, where they had a 5-hour layover where they're just the two of them without cameras just talking for 5 hours in an airport. And through that dialogue, they didn't find like maybe common ground per se, but they found understanding from each other, right? It was an actual discussion. So as opposed to like doing these rage-baity performative acts in front of a camera, they sat down and just talked for 5 hours about their viewpoints in certain things. And if you ever heard about, like, for example, KKK members and being converted over to not being racists, like, when you start putting people, fear does a great job, right? And our imagination is way worse than reality. And so when you start putting people together and just have them start talking to each other, right, interacting with each other, everyone starts realizing, hey, they're just like me. They're not so bad. Like, they're like, we're just humans. Like, there's not this some massive fear there should be between us. We're just two normal people. And you can not like people just based off their personas, right? But like, you realize that they're not any different just because of their skin color or because of like their religion, so on and so forth, right? You might not like them because of their personality, different story entirely, but it's not because of some arbitrary thing like that. But no, like that's the death of nuance and the death of just like having dialogues, right? It's because everything's so performative, everything's in front of a camera, everything's about social media and like clout and all of that shit. There can be no honest dialogues like that, and because of that, you just have these polar opposites becoming more polar opposites because they're forced into that, right? Like, both the left and the right have gotten more, like, extreme by just this current period of time. Thanks, Marcos. Appreciate it. I don't, Marcos, in regards to extraction shooters. I will probably try Arc Raiders. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I could remember his name, Darkstar. Daryl Davis is exactly who I'm describing, basically. I could remember his name off the bat, but yeah, Daryl Davis. So those are familiar. Daryl Davis is like a jazzy, bluesy player who did a concert, right? And he was performing in the audience with a KKK member. And naturally, you know, he just talked to this KKK member, right? And he got this member to eventually leave the KKK because they just like eventually realized that, like, hey, this isn't some like weird, like, you know, caricature of how black people are portrayed to us. It's just some normal guy, just another human being. It's always the case, right? Just like games, like just like fear games, right? Just like horror games. The biggest enemy to humans is their own imagination, right? We can always conjure up things worse in our heads than they are in reality. One of the worst things you can do is show off your monster too much in a horror game, right? Because once that fear of the unknown is gone, we no longer project just random things in our head, right?
Hey, we made it out.
And that's perfectly fair too, Michael. Yeah, like, I am perfectly okay with hating people if it's about the personality. Or I can see it culturally too, right? Not maybe it's like hate culturally, but like personality-wise. I mean, that's well, game shit. That in a way is most conflicts, right? Not all conflicts. Once again, there will always be bad actors occasionally, like people hungry for power, so on and so forth. But like a lot of conflicts are based from that misunderstandings, right? There's been plenty of conflicts from misunderstanding. Like language barriers, right? Language barriers and fear. Fear is a big aspect too, right? All right, what map are we doing? Nighttime Stairway? Nighttime Stairway. It's actually been like, I have not seen Nighttime Stairway in weeks now at this point. Absolute weeks. And it's so sad. Let's go over to Scat Girl. RSAS? Why not? The fact that was said in a debate is absolutely absurd. Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate it. It still baffles me that was said in a debate live. Especially considering, too, like, say what you will, but, like, there is a reason why they have to import jobs. Do you want to go work in a meat factory? I don't think so. Do you want to go work at a regular, just run-of-the-mill factory? Probably not. Do you want to be a manual labor picking berries, strawberries off a hot summer day? Probably not. Like, if you live in the Western world, you are blessed by the fact that there is plenty of people in the world who have it worse than you, who are willing to work for more shit conditions than you are willing to work for. And you should be grateful of that fact. And you should be respectful of them wanting to advance in life, for the love of God. And maybe move to a better place. I have every momentum. I've never been able to actually get Nighttime Stairway in like the longest time. I've tried summoning it for so long now. I haven't even seen Night Shift in a while either. Very fair. I am that girl.
Enough of that sneaking around shit.
It's not even that, it's overseas too, right? Like, you have to keep in mind, the countries who live on poverty wages are subsidizing the living in Western worlds. Is he? And like, no, you might embrace that, but like, you should still be thankful for it. Like, congratulations, you almost won a lottery in some way. I do think Darkstar at a certain level, like, there's not a reason why we shouldn't be able to choose the time of day. And I think, too, if they actually make it so you can choose, you can actually up the difficulty by a ton. I actually think night shifts are probably too tame. But, like, you can't make night shifts harder than they currently are because they're not optional. And it would not be good for more casual players to get punished by RNG like that. It also makes it just confusing too. Like, do we have no like understanding of time as scavengers? Have all clocks been broken? I honestly, Blood Panda, when I first saw the marketing material for this game, I was actually thinking it wasn't going to be that many units, but all of the units were going to be so much more powerful than you. So it wasn't gonna be like, you might only see like a giant mech. Like, the way I saw it from the market material, the way I saw the maps, right, are these very large, expansive battlefields with like the occasional fights off in the distance, but most of it being a wasteland, right? And so like you're moving across this wasteland, navigating the world, and like you wouldn't even want to come across soldiers or troops, right? They'd be rare, and like the times you come across them, you don't even want to fight them because they're that deadly in comparison to you. That was what that was the picture of the original like concept of the game put in my head. They did, Lauren. You are true to that regard, but like I still think you can kind of have that vibe, right? Of like a mostly. In a way, the large maps don't work, Lauren, because they're trying to simulate big battles happening far away, where I feel it should almost be more desolate than that, right? Like, you're not having like hundreds of infantry fight over this giant battlefield. Like, think of it this way, right? Think of a giant, large, like, let's say like 10 kilometer like square, right? Filled with trenches, ruins, and like different like, you know, obstacles here and there. But in that 10-kilometer square, you might only ever have like 50 units at once throughout that whole entire 10-kilometer square. you're not like the battlefields are large, but the units are like scarce, right? But the units that are still around are like battle honed and super deadly. Yeah, and so like when you run across a squad, it's a life or death thing, because the squad can kill you very easily because it's a SWAT infantry, but more like if you draw their attention, it will draw the ire of like big mechs and shit right over to you into your area, right? So in a way, just like regular war, it would be fairly uneventful, and in a way that almost would be better than the alternative, right? Keep in mind, remember, when you're a soldier in the military, most of your time is spent in boredom or doing mundane tasks. Only a fraction of that spent in actual literal combat. And for a game that's trying to give off a vibe as opposed to necessarily gameplay, I always felt it was going to be more of a walking simulator than that, right?
Not enough ammo.
Well, Laura, I mean, like you can unload certain parts of the map, right? Like there's LOD and like nanite and like loading and unloading parts of maps. Like in a way, right now they don't, I think, use any of the tiles in Unreal Engine 5, so they don't like unload certain parts of the map. Like there's LOD when you move farther away, but at no point I think they're actually unloading parts of the map while you're in it. And so naturally, when you're having like a 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer map, you are naturally like level streaming, right? You are unloading parts of the map when they're not there. Yeah, Michael, like, yeah, that's kind of always how I thought combat was supposed to be, in the sense of you want to avoid combat because combat naturally has you like outgunned and it's deadly for you, right?
Where to rush?
Ziwi, I don't know. In a hypothetical world where I would want to add a character to the game, I mean, we kind of hit a lot of tropes already, right? Character-wise. What kind of like archetype would I want to get filled? Essentially, Laurent, like level streaming is this, right? As you move about the map, parts of the maps load and unload. So essentially, in a way, view it as like gluing 10 maps together. Like say, for example, if you glued all of these maps together and as you crossed over the barrier to one to the other, it would load. It's much more seamless than that, but it's a very simple way of putting it, right? So you're never going to be stressed more than you would be on a single individual map. But no, yeah, thinking about a character, I mean, like, they hit the archetypes pretty well. We have Hacker Man, we have Combat Man, we have Robot Man, we have Heavy Weapons Man, we have Grumpy Old Man. We have, like, Weapons Expert, basically. We have Fast, but, We have the medical guy here too. Yeah, I'm trying to think what's missing in the current game in regards to characters. Maybe like well, we already have a few partial cyborgs, right? Maybe not cyborg. I don't know. I'll give it some more thought. I don't think we need a kid. That's inviting. Maybe in like a late teenager, like 18, like a young person. I mean, we have Medical Man here, right? This is Old Man. Old Man does have benefits for medicine up here. So in a way, he's Medical Man. Oh, let's do Vepper. I would see like a young character. I mean, I could see a young character perfectly fine. I wouldn't say a child though, but like a young character. Stealth man. No, let's just regular my trench. Why not? Yeah, like there's already like plenty of mostly cyborg characters. Trying to think like what kind of gimmick they would require too. If they ever did melee man, yeah, but I'd be surprised if we actually get fleshed out melee in this game. They probably shouldn't too, to be honest, right? Like melee requires this whole set of animations and characters and just, yeah, no, that's way too much extra work. It's a very, like, asking for more bigger melee seems innocuous. It's a deceptively big ask. With a lot of work it entails for not a whole lot extra. But no, the next character is Prone Man. The one character that can go prone. I wouldn't mind seeing like much more of an actual like okay, I can't. Despite Yoruska feeling very into being like into like augmenting humans and like biomechanics and like twisting humans into different forms, we haven't actually seen an instance yet of like an actual like abomination unit for Yoruska, right? Like we haven't seen some like horrific amalgamation from Yoruska. But like I could definitely see that maybe being a character, like some failed experiment from Yoruska perhaps, I don't know. Or some like just failed experiment for any faction. Maybe Orgamech, yeah. Like Ghost in the Shell kind of vibe. Wait, what? Hold on, bear with me here. What if we had a character that, as opposed to like having equipable rigs, just had a rig attached to him, right? Maybe like a protective rig he can recede into. Maybe like he really likes pizza also and has a ninja sword. There we go. Yes, the Ninja Turtles, yes, that's exactly what I was going for. I mean, we don't have grenades yet in game. I mean, we had that little snippet that they accidentally released, but yeah, I mean, possibly. I think they've kind of alluded to at this point that we're going to be seeing chemical weapons eventually. Oh, I mean, for sure, John. I mean, like, we're talking about it because someone asked in chat, not because they should. Like, yeah, no, 100%. Like, yeah, they should be working on other things other than that in characters, but someone asked, so I answered. But no, yeah, they have plenty of other stuff to focus on first before adding more characters. And I would be surprised if we ever see actually more characters, right? Considering, like, we might see skins for characters like we're currently seeing, but, like, any new models we have for characters are gonna be over the current rigs. Because it means you don't have to do any more animation work. So, like, the archetypes we have right now is probably all we're gonna ever have, which is perfectly fair. I'm sure we'll see plenty of skins in the future. For like certain characters to like essentially, and we might see different skill trees too depending on the skin, but like I think they're realizing that like, yeah, like we need to stop here because we have six different skeletons for these 6 different characters and it vastly increases the amount of work for animations. Is it cool? Yes. Does it require a lot of work? Also yes. Darkstar, I'm usually not too into certain characters that you can just perform with artificial restrictions on other characters, right? Like, you can say that with Gunhead, right? But like, Gunhead's a little bit more than that. Like, if you want to play a pacifist character, you can take any character and play a pacifist, right? Well, I think Z, we should be getting those soon. They did a poll in the Discord yesterday, I think, in regards to what unit we want to see next for what faction. And I think prevailing right now, it's Europa, or sorry, Europa is winning, which is fair. Europa needs some love. Europa doesn't have a special unit yet. We have 4 unkillables and none of them are European. Did they close the poll yet, or is the voting still open, Lil Papa?
Don't get boxed in. Spread out.
Well, I'm gonna go buy like 5k Discord bots real quick. Gotta skew the poll. Hello.
Way too hot here. Keep low.
Oh, it's literally just the 3 factions, right? I think the poll is literally just asking what character do you want to see next? For what faction that is. And it had Eruska, Europa, and then Eurasia, right? And naturally, Europa won. Eruska was close behind. Like, it wasn't that close, but they were behind. And Eurasia was dead last. Which is fair, like... Europa is the only faction right now that does not have like a lot of special characters. I mean, they can all use something new, but if push comes to shove, I think Europe deserves something. I mean, they have Mother Courage and the Chopper, right? I don't think there's medics for Europa. I haven't seen any medics yet.
Liquid courage.
Considering they consume bodies for sustenance, or they use, you know, corpse starch, they might not be too interested in saving people. We haven't seen an actual medic for Europa, but they probably exist. I do think the Euruscan pig unit I've highlighted before would be really cool. It would literally be the only problem I will say though is, right, despite my wish for Eruska to lean into bio-horror, I do not think that's what the artist in charge of Eruska intends for that faction to be. Like, for me, when I look at Eruska, I think of bio-horror just over and over again, but I don't think that's the actual end goal for the artists for that particular faction. Like, I don't think we're ever gonna see actual, like fleshy abominations or, like, things that are, like, actual amalgamations, right? So for those unfamiliar, Father Pig is kind of a concept I threw at the wall, where it's basically this chimera of like an ape, like a great ape, a pig, a few other things, and essentially it'd be this like giant great ape, a pig, and other few other things. It'd be this giant biofuel factory, right? So it would consume bodies and then turn those bodies into biofuel for, like, it basically would be a logistical unit for Eruska, right? It would come in, consume bodies, and then turn that fuel into usable fuel for Eruska units, basically. And it would basically be carrying around this giant factory on its back while it walked around and consumed bodies. And it would have a giant pig's head as a giant pig's head, and kind of like a maw, like a meat grinder. But that'd be like leaning a lot more into like the actual like bio-horror, like bio-amalgamations. And I'm not sure if Yuruska is supposed to be that. They could be, but I'm not sure. We do have the fleshy guy. I'm not gonna lie, Scorched Enclave. Toothy eats for sustenance for himself. So is Toothy's design is supposed to be a medical unit, right? He is just twisted, like the corrupted version of Toothy, right? Uses that to sustain himself. So it's Toothy eats to sustain himself. This is more logistical in nature, right? It is literally this like mobile factory to consume basically biomass and convert that biomass into usable fuel for your Ruska. Because it like at least the medium mechs for your Ruska seem like they run on biofuel. And you can see them carrying bodies on their back. And it doesn't seem like they actually consume those bodies. It seems like they need to like take those bodies to be converted into biofuel. So it kind of creates this logistical issue for Yuruska, where how do they like kind of make biofuel in the battlefield? And that could be a way, right? And in a way, it's for example, converting biomass to fuel, but it's also in a way denying Europa bodies for food. That's a big jump. Let's LMG? LMGs are so bad right now. Yeah, there are tripods with flamethrowers. We might see those eventually, but like they seemed like home suppression units basically. Like they were there for like basically burning down the biocities. Yeah, I don't know, Ziwe, about air units for your Europa. I haven't seen like in any of the artwork at all, or any of like the screen caps, any real like flying units for your like Europa. So I'm really curious if like Europa even has flying units anymore. Is it like, or is it just Yuruska owns the skies? I mean, we might see like choppers and air units for Europa. I'm curious how that would take place, but like. Yeah, I haven't seen like any inkling at all that Europa would have air units. Yeah, from the recent Q&A, I think they were talking about like the flamethrower was in the works, but it was kind of a question of like how the flame would actually like work. Is it gonna be like more like napalm where it sticks, or just regular flamethrower where it doesn't? Don't mind me. Let me in. Yay, safety. That's right here, right? Yeah. Structural framework. Isn't this room nice and safe? This room is great. I love this room. I'm just gonna stay in here forever. Unplayable. Just kidding. I mean, if they ever give me the same honor, Michael, as Railroad God, which I mean they probably don't need to, considering that we're vastly different spheres of influence. I would probably ask for that immediately, right? That would be my ask. Instead of a cultist, I would want Father Pig. It does momentum. I have been squished by Toothy before while in the bunker. And by Exos. Yeah, I've been killed by a lot in the bunker. The bunker is not actually that safe.
Keep cool. Carry on.
The exosuit from District 9 was pretty good. District 9 as a collective was actually just really good too. The movie was fantastic. Ah, yes. The 10, this is probably what, like a 30, 50 MOA? This would not pass military trials. Come back, no. Is it coming over here? I mean, Michael, you know it does it way too quickly. Plus smoothbore, there we go. No.
We're on the clock, people.
No, come back. We're not done with you yet. Come back. We'll get there. Yeah, like the animations are good now. Like this is like a great animation, right? I mean, it's slow as shit, but like, hey, why can't I reload? Oh no. It's probably the 200 rounds, to be honest. Is that at me? Okay, now we're good. Oh, I'm being really dumb. I know I can't reload because I'm out of fucking bullets. Duh. Fucking duh. Why won't you die? Sir? Damn, this thing is powerful. One shotgun shell to kill an exo. Yeah, I mean, you all saw it. Everyone saw it. I pulled out a shotgun. I shot once, and the exo died. That's science right there.
Same as it ever.
No. Dog? I don't see a dog yet. We're good. There's no dogs where we're going. Oh god. Run. We did it. We killed an XO. We got some parts too. I haven't seen a dog today actually at all. Well, I mean, we saw a grabber I think in the cemetery, but outside of that, no HK dogs at all today. It's been very peaceful. I guess I should probably make up some more parts for the railgun. I have not been on my I've been not doing it at all, to be honest. There we go. Who's a good boy?
Shit.
Who's a false idol? You're a false idol. I have no idea. They do kind of like look like they have like some work for chains on top of their head, but I don't know. We haven't seen one get deployed yet. It's probably deployed on the ground. I mean, like, it's got hooks and stuff. We haven't. The only thing we've seen deployed by planes is the cyborgs, right? Other than that, we have no idea how they get to the front line. I mean, there are trains and there's the Titans for Europa, but like other than that, we haven't really seen any like big logistical structures or vehicles for the other factions. So we're doing Swamp, I think, right? Yeah, let's do Swamp. Probably need to bring some drills too, I guess. Some drills. Bring a few of these. What gun do I want to run? Do I want pain and suffering? No, I don't. I've used the Glock in a while, actually. I wonder if it's still janky as shit. Alright, there's our P90, or our Glock ammo. Let's get some 550 BMG for the sniper rifle. Alright, perfect. And then just more meds, probably. Alright, quest-wise, we have kill scavs. Yeah, and you're in the train yard. Understood. We have drills for that, so we're good. Actually, let's go ahead and bring a jump device too for Water Wars. I don't think so. I mean, like, I kind of feel like they'd probably have bigger, I don't want to say airships, but like, we're definitely not seeing logistical structures yet for Yoruska. I think they do use the sky though, but probably in a different way. Ruh-roh.
I hate the surface.
That's not as good as. Don't look at it. Ignore the magazine. Ignore the magazine. The magazine can't hurt you. Hi, Mom.
All signs point to death here.
Guess she really likes that box. Oh, cool, there's light in here. The mystical, magical floating light.
Hopefully it forgets us. We can escape.
Alright, so over to Water Wars. Is there a way around here I can get around without having to drop down? Oh, you're solid, understood. I don't think so, actually. This damn train's in the way. Actually, this is kind of convoluted, but I think I can get down this way. Michael, that'd be so great. You stand on a rock, you get fucking headshot by a slipper.
We can escape.
Made out of the hardest plastic known to man. So I'm gonna try to do it. I'm trying to get around the train by going to the other pipe over here. Alright, who's up here? It's usually cyborgs or a dog. Or brawlers. Alright, cyborgs. Alright, so we made it over here. I could try jumping over. That seems suicidal though, I'm not gonna lie. This should be good enough to get over. I do hope I understand they're probably just scaling fire textures or fire effects up right now. That's why they don't look as good. I do hope they can find better fire effects. It does kind of look ever so derpy when you see this cool map and like the fire just looks like very, very low res. Alright, so I should be able to drop down here. This is gonna hurt like a bitch, probably. Yep, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Huh, that feels comically scaled and large. I don't think these are real here. Oh god, it's real, thank god. Where are my water thieves at? I kind of would want to see their assassins anyway. So right now, we don't actually have their assassins in the game. Or sailors, just more of like their infantry variants, really, to give them more utility. Right now, like, none of what Europa does is more than just like point and click and shoot you. So them having more utility units that like kind of flush you out or just have different effects would be neat. That's a cyborg. can probably get over there. This might hurt. All right, made it.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
There you are. The cyborg? I'm probably hitting something. Up we go. Unfortunately, that's with night shift though. They don't really spawn that often. It's kind of hard to actually get 15 water thieves on night shift. Is that a brawler below me? Yeah, I'm not gonna find any more water thieves here, unfortunately. It kind of makes me like curious too, right? Like, if this is what happens every nighttime, how do the water thieves even live here? Like, it seems like an utterly hostile place. But yeah, for an area at Ziwi, yeah, I don't know. Maybe like if any faction was gonna have like a suicide drone, I kind of feel like it'd be Europa. But isn't this their home though? They return to the water. I can see that job. They're all Aquamen. This game's just oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh, what the? Oh, leave me alone. We're good here. And over we go. Whatever. All right, let's move on. But like, no, like, it kind of like is what baffles me about this whole Shantytown area, right? Is like, how do you live here during the night shifts where like everything seems to want to kill you with endless cyborgs? There's a lot, like, there's no drawbridge, there's no like hidden like way of getting in. Well, the only problem, Michael, right, is they store a bunch of like water factories there. Like, as it only uses a makeshift camp during the day for like sucking out water from people. Who's a good boy?
I'm the last one standing.
I mean, yeah, but they still do their like their refining operations there, right? They still do what's it called? Like suck out the water from people there. You got little blood bags. I mean, Glock works pretty well. It's a kind of a point and clicker. You're not really going to be aiming with it, but for an MLSMG, basically, it works pretty well. Oh, you don't think night shift happens every time? You think it's like some nights are just calm nights? Isn't like part of the lore though is that they do recovery options recovery operations every night though, to prepare for the day's battles? I think that's in part of their videos, right? Where they talk about that. Everyone look at the small tank. Everyone make fun of the small tank. All right, let's move on. Yeah, I think that's the premise of the lore, John, is that like every single night shift is the like a precursor or a reset up for the day's battles. Man, that Glock magazine is driving me crazy. Because momentum. They have no respect for the scale button.
Don't miss. Give it.
The developers of Fundog are laughing at us. Laughing at us for giving us small tanks. That's fair. Tanks are average. Really? There we go. Hey Owen, how's it going? Still, personally, if I was setting up a like settlement though, Michael, I would really probably avoid the place you would have to occasionally abandon at night because of bad things. They heard our pleas. I'm not sure if I would need to probably test out the RPK. I think Blood. I think it might be for only certain guns, but we'll have to see. It may be like for a certain gun or for certain round. But yeah, we only had 2 left. That's just pure fabricated lie. Rat King does nothing for you. Rat King is a false idol. What has Rat King ever done for you? Has Rat King ever answered your prayers?
Whittle them down and we can break out.
I love. We have the Saul that within like 20 bullets turns into a cone, and then we have the Chad Glock that is just a perpetual laser. Like, look at this thing. Look at it go. This thing's more accurate than a rifle. Good old 9mm. I'm still firing even after I hit E. Yeah, Glock has none of that weird spray going on. Are pistols meta again? Pistol meta? Just run Glocks? Very interesting. Can't stop, yeah. Got that trigger finger. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. I will be back on Wednesday. I hope you have a good week. Friday stream might not be on, we'll let you guys know. If not, this week, we'll have it next week for community stream. Other than that, have a good week. I will see you guys later. Take it easy. Bye all.